think we're ready, but I'm just waiting for it to show up on here just so that I know. Oh, there we are. So let me just bring up the other page. I'm going to check the stream health. And then I'm going to switch to the start of the show. So I'll be back in a minute, just doing this so everyone can realise that I'm alive. See you in a minute, guys.
Young, and we didn't want to be exposed. Even though it was cold, we were never wearing proper clothes. Always trying to be cool, trying to be those bad guys, smoking cigarettes behind the school. Always trying to be cool, trying to be those bad guys, you know. I still think about what we had when we were younger. We were never running out of time. As long as we had each other, everything was black and white. Driving in a car, never knowing how far we go. When we were younger, when we were younger, I remember a girl. I would sneak into her parents' house. I could stay for hours, and we looked into each other's eyes. Hey, I thought I was Romeo, I was looking for my Juliet. And as soon as I left, I told my friends. Those days made me who I am. When we were younger, we were never running out of time. As long as we had each other, everything was black and white. Driving in a car, never knowing how far we go. When we were younger, oh, when we were younger. When we were younger, we were never running out of time. As long as we had each other, everything was black and white. When we were younger.
And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on where you're from at this stage. Someone just said, Heath just said 4K tonight. Well, I think it should be 1440. I think that's what I'm putting it out at. But let me know. I think the maximum it should be is 1440. How does the picture look? And how's the audio sound? Because I'm actually going through Ecamm today, so it's something a little bit different today. So I thought I'd just try and simplify things, or just try something again, wearing the hat so that you don't see my glow from the lights. I just look attractive no matter how it's done, really, let's face it. Look at this. Now, if you haven't calibrated your monitors, please make sure that this looks white, not grey, because if this looks white, you need to calibrate your monitor. Now, let me open up. I'm going to be having another James Squire with you guys. This one. James Squire 150 Lashes Pale Ale. So, let me open this up. Here we go. Ooh, hang on. Ooh. How'd you like my Vegas little... Is it going to focus? Come on, focus, focus, focus. There we go. Vegas, Las Vegas. Now it says 720p. No, it should be 1080. It must be something on your side, Heath. It's probably just live because it's saying the stream is very healthy on my side, so I'm pretty sure it's going out at 1440. Let me just check output here. Options. Yeah, it's 1440p it should be. So that's what that's set at. So here we go. Now, hang on. You know I have to... You know that I've got to use this sound effect. Hang on, here we go. Because it's the ASMR of the Sony Rumours show. Are you ready? Testing. 1, 2. Oh, hang on, here we go. James Squire, Pale Ale. Honestly, I swear sometimes people must watch me for the first time and think, what is this guy on? I mean, I think that's probably what they're thinking. They'll be thinking, this guy's nuts. So how are we all? Say hi in the chat because I'm just going to be a little bit in pre-show just for a few minutes, just to sort of say hi to everyone before we start the show. How's the quality of the image look? Let me know in the thing. Now, let's have a look. So Richard said, greetings from Las Vegas. Las Vegas. Formula One is here in November. I know. Congratulations, Richard. It's here. I think it's next weekend. Or is it this weekend? I can't remember. It's on here within a week or so, I think. I don't think it could be this weekend. I don't know. I'll have to check because I always watch it. I'll have to find out, but I know it's here this weekend or next weekend going around Melbourne, so I love it. It's great. Rocco said, greetings from Southwest Florida. Heath also said, hello everyone, hope all is well. Heath also said 4K tonight. No, we're not 4K tonight, but it's 1440. 2160p here. That's interesting. I wonder why it was showing that. Barry said, looks good. Heath also said the audio is good. Now it says 720p. Now it says 1080p. Yeah, it just depends on your speed, I think, downloading. Mine says 1440, and that's what it should be on, John, because that's what I'm streaming at today. Mike says 1440p here. He says his TV is confused. Chuck says 1440. David also has said 1440. Mike says, greetings from Boulder, CO. John says, greetings from Detroit, Michigan. How are you, John? And Greg Thomas is here as well. Says 1440 here as well. G'day, Greg. How you going, buddy? Nice to see you in here. Greetings from Victoria, Australia. Now, we've got some really interesting stories today, actually. I'm going to talk about... I don't know whether... I need to put that so I can see it dead straight because that's, you know, my... Hang on a minute. I'm going to put it there. No, I'm going to put it there. If I go like that, it's because the camera's not quite straight. Oh, who cares? All right, so... mine says I'm live. That's what Simon said. Yeah, we've got some interesting stories today because if you watch Tony Northrup's video the other day, it was interesting because he actually said in the video, oh, someone just subscribed to the channel too, Chuck. Thank you so much, Chuck, for subscribing. Glad to see you here. And a super chat. And now, is that going to come up on live, the super chat? Why didn't that work? It probably came on... Oh, there it is. Look at that. Now, are you ready for this? Hang on, here we go. I've got this now. It should work. Let me just wait until that disappears. Woohoo! Long Rider. Woo, let me just play that thing. Super chat, $5 from Long Rider. He's always one of my main super chats. Thank you so much, buddy. Really appreciate it. Nice hat. You look like the Aussie Frank Sinatra. Ooh. Frank Sinatra. New York, New York. Thanks so much, though, mate. Really appreciate it. Now, I think, too, it does, because I'm using Ecamm now, if anyone subscribes or does anything, it'll bring up a graphic like what you just saw. So it's a little bit different than what it was before. So let Let me just see what's here. Greg Thomas will be in your area over Easter. We should catch up. Yeah, I saw that. You're going to be in Dalesford, Greg, weren't you? I was thinking about if I'm not away, we may be in Echuca, but if we're not away, I may come. We'll see. Many greetings from Denmark, where it is now night time. So, g'day, Jess. How are you? Fly me to the moon. Yeah, fly me to the moon. All right, so if you watched Tony Northrup the other day, he actually had a video on about Sony medium format, and he was more or less saying that it was going to happen straight away and stuff like that. But I knew straight away it was an April Fool's Day joke, and I conned onto it because it was April Fool's yesterday here in Melbourne. So I immediately guessed it. A few people messaged me and said, wow, Aaron messaged me and said, oh, check this video out. And I said, Aaron, I'm sure it's an April Fool's Day joke. And then he went, oh, yeah, I hadn't thought about that because we're a day ahead. But there is some interesting things about this that it may actually happen. Now, this is not an April Fool's Day joke. I'm going to go through with you something from Sony Alpha Rumours shortly. But I talked about this a fair while ago, and I do think, someone could correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think that the actual sensor in the Fuji cameras are Sony sensors. So you might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that is the case. So there could be something in this that Sony are going to do a medium sensor, medium format type of camera. So let me go over here and I'll sort of explain what I'm talking about. So if you look here, now this was put up on March the 28th from Sony Alpha Rumours, but it said the big Sony medium format system talk is a 53.5mm by 40mm sensor with 150 and 200 megapixels. And lots of 1.7-inch primes. Now, they have discussed this before, so this is why I'm saying it may not be a April Fool's Day joke. And I'm going to go through this, what they're sort of saying through here. Cheers. And you can all then chime in the chat if you wanted to sort of talk about it. But the interesting thing down here is they're saying that it's about time to talk about the facts, myths and rumours about the possible future Sony medium format system. He talks about in the video, he goes through stuff and everything about that in it, but it's saying back in 2017, the Sony manager said that at least for now, they rule out the possibility to launch a medium format camera. Now that was in 2017. So it's a fair while ago that they were even talking about this, and I went through some of these with you guys on one of my rumour sort of chats years ago. And just says, the reason is it takes a lot of time and resources to develop a new camera system. So what they're going to have to do, they don't only have to develop a new body, because it won't fit in the normal size, the A9 type body. So they'd have to develop a new body, which will be much bigger, because it has to have, you've got to be able to fit that sensor in. The other thing too is you've got to develop a whole new lens mount. So there's new lenses that have to be developed as well, because the lenses that are there at the moment just won't have enough light coverage to go over the sensor. So, they also have to develop lenses. So it is a fair while in the transition that they would have to do to make this or develop this. And in fact, if you look at it, Sony Fuji made the move first when they started to produce the medium format cameras. And they really have changed the whole genre in that it's made it affordable, because before Fuji was actually developing these cameras, they were really, really expensive. If you had to get a phase 1 or something like that. I used to shoot with medium format when I used to do fashion, and also shot with medium format when I was teaching photography at RMIT. But in those days, it was just phase 1 that we were using. So it's interesting that this rumours are starting to come back. So I do think that, yes, the Tony Northrup thing was a April Fool's Day joke, but there could be something in it in the future with Sony, and they might be going to step out. And I'll just show you what's sort of going on here. They're saying, but since 2017, many new patents have been published by Sony, and here is a quick roundup. They're saying that these lens patents that came out was a 387mm lens, and that in full frame terms, that's a 240mm. And it's wider, it's actually wider, so even though that says 387, when you convert it down to full frame, it's 240. 323 in full frame terms, it's equal to 200mm. There's a 258 2.8 full frame lens. In terms, that's 160mm. And there's also a 161, which is 100. And there's an 84, which in full frame terms is a 52 millimeter lens. Now, if they are sort of deciding that they want to do this in a 150 to 200, I do think that's probably the case, because they really have to make this different than, say, having the A7R5, for instance, because I think the next version of that could be a 100 megapixel sensor. So I wouldn't be surprised if a medium format camera is 150 to 200. And that really makes this different than using your normal full frame cameras. Look, the main difference is when you're dealing with high-end fashion, they will still shoot with, I'm talking real high-end fashion here. When you're shooting with high-end fashion, they will still shoot with medium format. Just because the megapixels are so large there and the file size is so beautiful that when you're enlarging and retouching it, say for skin, for fabrics and things like that, where you want every little bit of quality to be there, the medium format's perfect for that. There's issues with medium format in, well, particularly as it was older, because it used to be slow. Fuji have improved that a lot now, but it was a very, very slow, methodical sort of system to use it, so it was no good for sports or action and things like that. I mean, I wouldn't want to shoot a wedding for it because I would find it would be too slow for the way that I've shot, but they may have improved that now. But the main thing here is that the difference is that Sony, and I know they patented this because we've talked about this before, is this curved sensor. They're saying here the extraordinary feature of these lens patents is that they are all designed for curved sensors. And you can see a curved sensor underneath here. And what that means is, well, I'll explain in a minute because I'll read a little bit down here. I'll put this down below if you don't want to. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but if you want to read it, I'll put it down below so that you can have a look at that. But it just says down here that they've already patented some curved sensors. Example here. Let me just open that up. I just want to see if it's showing the same thing. Oh, it's not going to show actually. Because, yeah, I've got a different thing there. Anyway, I'll leave that. You can click on this example and it will show it. This is an example of one, though, that you're sort of looking at here. You can see that it curves on the edges. While Sony already showed an image sample shot and a curved sensor back in 2014. So it's been around for quite some time. And there's working examples that you can see, prototypes, if you go through here as well. Now, if we look down here, just to sort of explain this, it's saying when light is transmitted by a lens, it strikes in a perpendicular target, such as a CMOS sensor. So in other words, you know, it's sort of a square or so not more sort of rectangle, actually, whereas a lot of medium formats are square. But they're saying here that it forms a circle of light called an image circle, and it's difficult for a flat planar CMOS image sensor to deliver high image sensitivity at high resolution. Now, what they're talking about here is because it gives you this round, that's what happens through your lens, it forces this round light through onto your sensor. The outsides particularly aren't as sharp as what your middle part of the sensor will be. Well, now because this is curved, you'll get a lot more sharpness on the outside and also in the center. So a curved sensor does make an awful lot of sense if Sony can do it and produce it for reasonable money. And that might be why they would just leave this for something like a medium format camera, because they could charge a lot more to do this. So this curved sensor makes a lot more sense, that if you've got a round, you know, your circle of light there, well, then because this is curved on the part up here, it's going to be a lot sharper than if you just had it flat. So that's the idea between this. And then there's recent rumours. They're saying, the only rumour I got is saying it's not from a solid source, but it's saying that on December the 13th, they're saying a simultaneous announcement about a curved sensor medium format camera development. Two cameras, 150 megapixel and 200 megapixel, and 9 to 12 prime lenses, very expensive to follow quickly. So that was what they put in December the 13th. There's another one on December the 13th as well that they put in there. It said, the medium format system Sony will release in 2 years has not got a curved sensor. It is now a developed 200 megapixel 54 by 36 sensor and a new mount. Sony will release an adapter to use E-mount lenses. I don't believe that's true. Just so they can had a lot of compatibility lenses. The system will release with only 3 primes. Yeah, I don't think that'll be true. I doubt it will take the E-mount lenses. You could, in theory, put an adapter on, yes. And they may do that. I don't know. But I would think that they'd want you to buy these new lenses. That's what I think it will be. Now, it just says here, the business case for Sony medium format systems. They're saying here that the Sony A1 and the Fuji Gfx prove that the people is willing to pay a lot of money for exciting cameras. And the Fuji Gfx has sold very, very well, actually. And I suppose Fuji have also been lucky in the fact that they've had this all to themselves that whole time. So, you know, that makes a big difference as well, that they've had that to themselves. I'm talking about affordable, medium format cameras that you haven't, go out and get these ridiculously priced ones. Now, they're just saying here that in all those years of constant camera market decline, only the high-end stuff keeps selling. Sony might have been motivated to be bold and launch a new MF system, and that could be true. Excuse me. It says, if patents are any indication for the direction Sony wants to go with their medium format system, then we can assume this. The sensor is 2.2 times larger than full frame. And this is why your image looks so beautiful, because the sensor is so large. It's saying here 2 times larger with a full frame 53.5mm by 40mm size and a 0.65 crop factor. This is larger than the current Fuji Gfx sensor, which is 44 by 30. So this is going to, it would beat the Gfx sensor. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how they price this, though. It will be really interesting. All these sensors are curved. This allows the lenses to be much smaller because they don't need additional glass to correct for distortion. And see, that's one of the other things too, that because you have to try and get that light across the whole sensor, well, the lenses have to be larger to do that. But now that these sensors are curved, the lens can be smaller as well. So that's a real big advantage too with going for a curved sensor. Let me just see what else they're saying. Now, the lenses are f2.8, and that's equivalent to f1.7 on full frame primes. I don't understand that, because to me, 2.8 is 2.8. But anyway, that's a whole other discussion. But anyway, the patented lenses are all primes with a 2.8 aperture. This is equivalent to 1.7 in full frame terms. And I'm not even going to argue about that with anyone, because it's just everyone's different about that. I just think 2.8 is 2.8. But anyway, that's another argument completely. So you see, Sony seems to aim for a proper 645 sensor with a curved sensor to beat the Fuji Gfx system in terms of image quality, while still maintaining a relatively compact lens system. The trade-off is that such curved sensors are eventually going to be very costly to produce. And it's saying here, it's all speculation for now, and patents are no proof of real stuff happening. But I hope within the next few months it will finally happen as well. Now, so the interesting thing here is that, let me just bring this back to me. The interesting thing with this is that I think it's quite possible. There's 2 ways that this could happen. So it could be that Sony, say, produce this sensor and then let Fuji have it. That could be something that's going to happen. Or it might be that they just say, well, we're going to go for this market. The sort of low-end market is very, very hard to make money on, because there's so much there that people can choose from. And so it's pretty hard to make money from that side of it. But if they decided to go into this medium market and they have this new curved sensor that's different than anything that's out there, it could be a really good move by Sony to do that, and I do think there probably would be a market for it. Let me know what you think about this, though, in the chat, because I'd be really curious to know if you think it's possible. whether you just think this is all April Day Fool stuff. Like I said, I've been talking about this for a long time, so I think it's possible. I'm just not sure if Sony want to start developing for this as well. And that's what we'd have to sort of discuss and think about. So let me know in the chat, and I will come back to the chat at the end when we do some Q&A. And we'll see what happens from that. But just remember, like I said, I think it will be lenses. But again, they'd make more money again because you're going to have to buy new lenses. You have to buy, the camera body. That sensor is not going to be cheap. But I definitely think there's a market for it if you look at how the GFX cameras have sold. All right, so let me go to the next story because I've got some interesting things to share today. Let me go back over here. So this story is saying that the Sony A7C II is not coming in 2022. But they're saying that 3 or maybe 4 other new Sony cameras may be announced. So this is quite interesting too. I'm surprised actually. I thought this would have been one that they actually updated. And I still think it might be. The other cameras that I think will probably be coming out this year, let me just read this down here, what it's saying. It just says that a rumour posted by a website that never got a single rumour right is going around the web. It says that the A7C II is coming this fall. So Sony Alpha Rumours are saying it's not coming this fall. There's another one saying it's going to come this fall. I don't think it will be that early though. But it says, well, according to what I've learned so far, the A7C II should be on the market in 2022. There will be, should not be in the market in 2022. Yeah, so it's not going to be in the market this year. There will be 3 and maybe 4 new Sony cameras that will be announced during the second half of 2022. So if I still think, look, the next cameras that are going to be updated are going to be the A9 III. I definitely think that's going to be coming first. So the A9 III will be done and the A7R5 will be coming out as the next 2 cameras. That's what I believe. I don't think we'll get another A1 at this stage. So I'm pretty sure that we'll get the A9 III and the A7R5. They're going to be the 2 cameras that will be updated. I wouldn't be surprised if an A7C comes out after that. I really would not be surprised. And I think that there is definitely room for another APS-C camera, but a high-end model to come out. So I think that could be the 4th camera that they're talking about. So I think it's pretty exciting. Look, yes, it's been pretty quiet at the moment. I'm not even sure when these things are going to be announced or with the, how hard it is to get all the electronics for these. That it might be announced, say, sometime this year, and then they may not be delivered until early next year. But like I said, I definitely think an A9 III will be coming out. So if you were thinking about getting an A9 II, I would probably hold off unless you really needed it right now. I would probably hold off and wait. The same with an A7R4 because I think an A7R5 will be coming out too. Sony will have to do that, I think, to keep that, that moving. And it's been a while since they've been released, so they're due to be upgraded. So I'm pretty excited about those 2 cameras coming out. And and I would love to see a really high-end APS-C camera come out as well. That'd be terrific. I'd love one to come out with proper IBIS, like in say an A7 III body or something like that. That would be really interesting as a high-end model to come out. But I think they're the cameras that we're going to see coming up. Now that's the rumours on cameras themselves. And like I said, you can throw into the chat and I'll come back and talk about that during Q&A. But that's what I think is going to be next. A9 III, A7R4, possibly a new A7C II later on after that, and we may get another high-end APS-C camera. So let's keep moving on. There is rumours that the new Sony 2470 2.8 GM will be announced in April. And now I'm not surprised by that at all. I think it's imminent. We've got the 70-200 Mark II now, which is a much, much better lens than the original version. So I think the 2470 is also going to be a killer of a lens. So if you were thinking about getting a 2470, I would definitely be waiting. Unless you want to save some money, I suppose, and get, the 2470 original GM. I had the 2470 F4 version and I sold it. I didn't like it at all. Anyway, I'm really excited about seeing that released. It's probably not a lens that I'm going to buy because I don't use zooms very much now. I mostly use primes. But I know people, particularly wedding photographers, love to have the 24-70 and the 70-200. They're the two perfect wedding combo lenses. I can't wait to see how good this lens will be when it's announced. So they're saying April. Let's keep moving on. Tamron, I'll be getting these if they are released. I couldn't tell you because I'd be under NDA anyway. But they're saying a new Tamron patent discloses an 18-50, 3.6 to 5.3. Now that's for APS-C, and Tamron are really looking after APS-C, and that's great to actually see. They're also potentially going to do a 24-120mm f4 full frame lens, but there's another one as well that I'll show you down here. These are the lenses that they're talking about. They're actually saying that there's an 18-50 f3.6 to 5.3. That's the APS-C one, and there's some details about that as well. Like, I'll leave that down below. But they're also saying that there's two full frame sizes here too. So they're saying that there's a, let me just enlarge this. So they're saying here that there's a 25-115 f4 for full frame size. And there's also a 28-120 f4. So that's interesting. So obviously it's just going to be that you've got a little bit wider and a little bit longer in the lens that's down underneath this one. They're not saying what aperture is though. Oh yeah, f4. So it's a permanent f4. That sounds pretty good. I don't mind an f4 aperture. So if you wanted to get just to the 25-115, obviously you could go for that one. It's going to be interesting to see if they show the filter size for that. They haven't. I'm wondering whether it's all going to be a 67mm filter thread. I don't know. But what do you think about those two lenses? They're pretty close, aren't they? I don't know. I wouldn't think that they'd release those two at the same time. Let me know what you think about that. I'll get them though, so... All right, so that's that. Let's go on to the next one. So that's new Tamron lenses. Also in the news, there is a new Sony A74 firmware update released, and that should fix the IAF issue. I know some people did have that and some didn't. I know others, I've seen reviews and some people didn't have that IAF issue. I can't even remember what the issue was. Someone in the live chat may be able to tell me because I haven't got that camera. But apparently this improves that feature, so hopefully it's got rid of it. It just says that improves the accuracy of the AF feature, fixes an issue where you may not be able to take photos when using the Cell 28-60 lens, and improves the operational stability of the camera. They always put that in there, so there's other bugs and stuff like that that's fixed that they just don't tell you what it is. But anyway, that's just been released now, so if you do have the A74, I would recommend to get that. I'm just seeing if anyone says what the AF issue was. No, they haven't mentioned it yet. So just let me know anyway what that problem was with the AF, and I'll come back to that when we do the chat. Someone may have got the A74 and have noticed that IAF problem. And before we open up to Q&A, also Tamron have issued lens updates as well. It's all of their 2.8 primes have now got a firmware update. There's the 20mm f2.8, there's the 24mm f2.8 and the 35 f2.8. I reviewed all of these lenses when I think I took a couple when I went to the States actually. Great lenses. So anyway, that's available now, and you will just update that inside the camera like you do with your normal Sony lenses. So it's a very, very easy process to update these lenses. But, you know, I'd advise you to do that as well. It's just saying the focus mode may switch from AF to MF during video recording with the Sony A74. So it's basically just fixes for the A74. If you're using these Tamron lenses with that, you've got that update there too. So we've had some interesting, interesting discussions today on different things that are happening there. So let me just switch back to here. So let's have a Q&A. So fire away any questions. And I'd love to have a discussion about what you think about the medium format and also the cameras that may be released from Sony. Greg said, I'm ready to get one of the medium format Sonys as soon as they drop. I know it'd be pretty cool, Greg, particularly if you shoot studio, or landscape would be amazing. Be interesting to see the cost that they sort of come out with. That's what I'll be interested in. Jess said, if Sony makes a medium format camera, then it will definitely be way too expensive for me. But I'm also very happy with my current Sony full frame camera and GM lenses. I mean, the thing too is, look, I used to really say there was a massive difference between what you could get with, you know, like a mirrorless camera to medium format. But now with something like the A7R4, there's nowhere near the difference that there used to be. Because those cameras are high resolution, there's so much dynamic range on those cameras and things like that. But yes, there's still going to be a difference. If you wanted the ultimate type of photography, obviously the larger sensor, you're going to get a nicer result, particularly if it has that curve sensor. It's going to be really sharp right from the edges. But there isn't as much different as there used to be, but there still will be a difference. And if you were doing studio work, to have a 200 megapixel file size would be just incredible. And like I said, landscapes would be beautiful as well. When clients pay the big bucks, they want to see phase one. Well, you know what? Clients, I don't think, usually I'd say yes, that's probably true previously. I don't think that's as true nowadays because they usually hire the photographer on their work now rather than what they use. I think if you probably went in with a Fuji, you know, GFX, I don't think that would be frowned upon at all. If it was a really high-end agency, I mean, I'm talking really high-end agency, yes, you're probably right. They probably would be surprised if you didn't come in with something like a Phase 1 and Pro Photo or Broncolor or something like that for lighting. Bob said, greetings from Reedburg, Wisconsin. Please leave the hat on. Reminds me of my song, the song Blinded by the Light. In your case, shine. Thanks, Bob. I love it. He's talking about the glow. Ooh. I love this hat. I've had this hat for years, and it's just the most comfortable hat. Let's keep going down here. Altric's here. G'day, Altric. How you going, buddy? Someone said, for Sony to do medium format, they would need to do something special for lenses that would allow for birds and long-distance spy photography. Well, I suppose that's why they're saying they're going to, I think it was 9 lenses that they said they were going to look at releasing. So, you know, it is a lot of lenses that they're going to have to produce. But, I mean, I would think, yes. But it's a win-win for Sony in one way. If they can do this, I don't think it's going to affect the mirrorless, but they might gain a new market for the mirrorless side of things. Like Greg said he would buy it. So, you know, and Greg has all the mirrorless cameras as well, or a few, but he would also buy a medium format as well. So there probably is, you know, a market for this, and they certainly would make money from it. I think it'd be a good idea for Sony to do this, actually. Chuck said Sony MF and 2 primes will probably take 30K out of somebody's wallet. Yeah, it's not going to be cheap. You're right, Chuck. Who knows what it's going to cost. It will be interesting, but I think they've got to compete with Fuji, though. I don't know what the GFX is rated now. Someone might be able to tell me in the chat what that's rated at. But I suppose if you buy a decent lens too, it's going to start adding up. I read that one, didn't I? Yep. Ike said it might be 1.7 in terms of depth of field, but it's 2.8 in terms of exposure. So if you're in lower light, it's going to suck. Yeah, this is where it's really interesting talking about this. I mean, it's still only allowing 2.8 in of light, and that's where I always say it's really just a 2.8 lens. Yeah, that's why I always just say, but there's whole arguments I've seen out there where people are, you know, going like crazy about that. These cameras got to be priced right to compete with Fuji. I agree, because they aren't slowing down. That's the thing. I think it is going to be it probably will be a little bit more expensive than the Fuji GFX cameras, but I wouldn't expect it to be too much more. I think they are going to be fairly competitive in that market, which is going to be great. I certainly, if I was earning enough money, I certainly would be tempted to get one. Chuck said he loves his GFX 100S. I don't blame you, Chuck. It's a great camera. He said Sony could certainly design and build a medium format camera and likely have a few prototypes floating around. Whether or not they do is anyone's guess. I think they definitely would probably have a prototype there somewhere. If these sensors have been patented, I would definitely not be surprised if they are out there somewhere already used. Remember, you're talking about a few years for them to be actually in development to the time that they come out. I mean, we hear that with Apple, that these phones that you get, the next iPhone was probably developed 5 or 6 years ago. And, you know, like imagine if you could get into Apple now or even say Sony and see what is being developed now. It probably would blow your mind if you saw what was being developed now, because you're looking at probably 6 years down the track before that comes out. Imagine what's going to be there in 6 years. So I would probably think, yes, even if they weren't going to produce it, I wouldn't be surprised if they've already got one that is a working prototype. Leslie's here as well, just saying hi from Croydon. G'day, Leslie, how are you, mate? Mike said we need more thumbs up. Yeah, love it if you could give me some thumbs up, guys. It does really help the channel, so I would really appreciate it. Hero said that Tamron better be cheap because the Sigma 18 to 50 2.8 for APS-C is like $500 to $600. Yeah, well, I think they would probably price it very well. I think it probably would be around that same price, Hero. The two full frame lenses seem redundant with very similar focal length. That's what I thought too. It's really interesting with those two lenses. Why would you do two lenses with that similar in focal length? I mean, you know, let me just go back to that because where are we? Where was it? This one. Like, why would you do both of these? Like a 25 to 115 and a 28 to 120. That is really strange, and I'm not sure if I believe that, but I don't know. It's to me that is really bizarre. Actually, I'm not sure either about that. I think it's a bit strange. We think, like photographers, the biggest market for the high pixel camera with the biggest bucks are governments. They want a ground camera for long distance pixel peeping. That's true too. Imagine the pixel peeping you'd be able to do with that. It would be incredible, especially if you could stitch stuff. Sony MF, what do you think pricing? Well, like I said, if you look at the GFX, let me just see. I don't know if I can do it because I'm sharing this live. Let me just add another one in. I'll go to B&H and we'll check it out and see. Where are we? And H. I'm just going to see if I can bring this up. Let me go back to this and let's see if it works. Yeah, it does show. All right, so let's go GFX. Because I think this will give you an idea about how much it's going to be. So if you go for the GFX 100, at the moment it's $5,999, so $6,000 USA. If you got the smaller one, this is the 51 megapixel one, it's $3,999. But remember, this is the 100 megapixel one, so you're talking the Sony version of this was going to be 150 and 200. So it's definitely going to be more than that. I would think that looking at, if that's $6,000, I think if this has the curved sensor, everything else, I would guess $10,000 for the body. That's what I probably would guess at. Who knows then for the lenses what they're sort of asking. Is there lenses down here that, I don't know, let's just check and see if we can search for GFX lenses. So if you look here, you've got the Fuji, this is the 45 to 100, that's $2,299. See, they're not bad. If you look, shush, phone. I need to silence this. They're actually not bad, and you can actually get this this one here, which is the 32-64 f4 lens. They're giving a $500 rebate, which is a mail-in one, and you can get that for $1,799. If you wanted to get a wide-angle 23mm, that's $2,599. Obviously, you can't get stuff because they're saying request more stock here, so they're not easy to get. You can get the zooms. Oh, no, you can't. You can only get the 32-64mm one. You can't get the other ones, so they must be pretty hard to get. If you're looking at the 110mm, that'd be a beautiful portrait lens. That's $2,799. 2 to 4 weeks is the expected availability. If you just wanted a 50mm 3.5, that's $999. You can get it for $799. And the GF 30mm is $1,699. I'm just looking at some of the others. The 80mm, that would be gorgeous too, is $2,299. So there's stacks of lenses that are available there. And actually, I'm surprised that they're reasonably priced. So for $10,000, you could get at least the GFX body and a decent lens. I think, you know, you're probably going to be looking at 15 by the time you say get the Sony lens, the body, and also then the lens. You'd probably look somewhere around $13,000 to $15,000, I would think. But, you know, I'm surprised, actually. That's not bad at all. So I think they would have to compare this fairly close, or not ridiculously above what Fuji have got. I just don't think Sony would make money from that if they did that, if it was too high. So anyway, I think that's pretty good. And looking at those prices, I'm surprised how affordable the Fuji is actually. That's a great camera for that price. Greg said, I think Sony's 102 megapixel A7R5 would be its next step rather than medium format. Yeah, I do too, Greg. I think that's definitely the A9 III is going to come out, and also the A7R5 will be the next two cameras. That would come out before the medium format, yes. But I'm not sure, like I said, depending on the price that these come out with, I don't know whether they'll be actually deliberately competing against each other. It might be a completely different market like Fuji is with their GFX. Let me know what you think. Anyone having audio problems? Well, has there been audio problems, has there? Let me know if the audio has been okay. If Sony medium format will be 4.3, if so, should call it for Mega Four Thirds. Yeah, I know, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it does change that sensor size, Roberto. That's interesting. Does medium format offer any additional compression the way full frame does over APS-C in portrait photography? There is a look that you get with medium format, yes. There is a definite look that you get with it. It certainly is different than full frame. Like you can see, there's a slight difference between APS-C and full frame as well. So yes, it's definitely a different look, and that's why high-end fashion photographers particularly like the medium format type cameras. I love my A1 paired with the GM135 or the new 70-200 version 2. The speed is amazing. It will be very interesting on the new A9 III. What do you think? The glow is amazing, by the way. Great look. What glow? You're talking about? Oh, you're talking about the. Are you talking about the? I've got a LUT on this, so it could be that you're talking about. I'm not sure. What do you think? What do you think? Well, I think, look, the A9 III probably will be like the A1. It may even be better than the A1. Remember, every time they've brought out a new camera like that, they have improved the autofocus. So I think over the time now that the A1 has been out, the A9 III will probably be better. But they'll keep things off the A9 III that aren't... the 8K I don't think you'll get in the A9, and they probably still won't even give us picture profiles. Who knows? I mean, they didn't with the A9 I or the A9 II, even though Sony did say they were going to think about adding it. So I think if you still wanted the high-end video, you would have to go for the A7S III and the A1. The A9 III will just be much better focusing, and I wouldn't be surprised if it goes completely electronic as well. They may get rid of the mechanical shutter completely. That wouldn't surprise me either, because you don't really need it now. That sensor is that fast that you don't really need it anymore. I mean, even with my A9, I shoot all the time with the electronic, apart from when I'm doing flash. Now, with the A1, you don't even have to do that anymore because it will work flash with the electronic shutter. So I think they may get rid of the mechanical shutter completely, and that makes perfect sense to me. Stabilization may be better. They might then obviously incorporate better active stabilization, so that could be another thing that they could do with the A9 III. I would think that the A9 III will be the ultimate sports photographer. I would be surprised if it didn't beat the A1, but the A1 is going to be the best of its type if you're dealing with wanting fusion, which is, you know, your video and also your stills. But there'll be an A2 eventually, and you know that again will be incredible. So, but I wouldn't expect that for a while yet. Now the glow, I'm not sure what you meant, Bob. Just sort of throw in the chat and let me know. I have my first shoot with the A1 tomorrow. Oh, lucky you, Altric. I forgot that you got one. Congratulations, mate. You'll love it, I'm sure. It's a great camera. It's going to be priced around 10 grand, give or take. Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably what it's going to be. I would say 10,000 USA. And then, you know, you're looking at probably 3 to 4 grand for a lens, I would think, to start off with. I think that's what they're going to do. Leslie said, David, if they bring an A9 III, will it do 8K? No. I don't think it will. I think they'll keep that for the A1. Unfortunately. Terry said, morning, David. Use my A7 III with the Zeiss 55 1.8 at a function and the shots were amazing. Terry, I love that lens, the 55 1.8. I use that all the time. It's still one of my favourite lenses. It really is. Great focusing. Nice and sharp. Yes, there's a little bit of chromatic aberration, but you can fix that in post anyway. It does it automatically in Capture One. I just adore that lens. It's so small, great to put on a gimbal. I'll never get rid of that lens. I just love it. I agree totally with you. Juicy's here as well. G'day, Juicy. How are you going? Heath also said 10,000 US. So we are onto something here. I think that's probably about right. Sony's MF sensor was probably larger too. Yeah. Like I said, I think it's definitely going to be larger than the Fuji. If you read those things, it was larger, what they were saying. Is it likely the A74 firmware will reset all my settings? No, it shouldn't. Just back them up first, Ben. Just make sure you back it up to your card. So then if there's any issues, you can reinstall it. But no, it shouldn't. If it does that, they should warn you that it's going to do that. So it shouldn't do that at all. Greg said, I have the A7R 5 on pre-order already. I love it. He's got it on pre-order already. Hasn't even been announced. Your hat. Oh, okay, Bob. You're talking about the glow of my hat. I do tons of birds and wildlife, and the A9 III was pretty amazing, but the A1 kills in every way, but I will be interested on the A9 III. It is really going to be interesting to see. See, the A9 II never interested me, and I reviewed that. I never believed it was a big enough upgrade from the A9 I. The A9 III would be the one that I would be looking at though, because that will be a big step up from the original A9 I. The A9 II was more of an increment. Yeah, there were changes, I know that, but the A9 II was more of an incremental upgrade. The A9 III, I think, will be a major upgrade. Like I said, you'll get the A1 focusing, probably even better than that. Features, you know, you'll get all the new menus and everything else with it. It's going to be a much better camera. You'll obviously definitely get a better EVF, and you'll also get, by then, hopefully, Sony, if you do not add, I'm going to do this, I have to do it. If you do not add a decent screen on the back of the new cameras, that is the aliens coming down to destroy you. Surely all the new cameras have to have the better rear screen. If they do not put that rear screen in, I won't say any more than that. So, you know, I think there's going to be some big upgrades. Now, the EVF on the A1 and the A7S III is brilliant. Whether they improve that, I don't know, because it's already just incredible. But if they just replaced the rear screen and gave us the better screens like what the Nikon and Canon cameras have, I would be very, very happy. And I really do hope that that's what's going to happen. You know, I think it's probably will. I think the A7 and also the new A9 III, hopefully even the other cameras that they bring out will have the new monitor on the back. I really do hope, and I'm hoping it also is a flip-out screen. I'm hoping that's what happens. I've already read that one. Altric said, I still have a pair of A9s, will sell when the A9 III comes out. Yep, great idea, Altric. Greg also said, the Sony A1 still uses the shutter for long exposures and faster flash settings above 1/200th of a second. Yeah, whether they'll be able to improve that though, Greg, on the mechanical side of things, it's probably only a matter of time before they could do that. I think it probably will happen. I don't think they'll go global shutter at this stage. I think that's probably a little bit further down the track. But the sensors are just getting so good. It's just incredible, you know. Matthew said, just a question, David, what was the size of the medium format in the film days? I understand Fuji format is smaller. It is. The Fuji format is smaller. I'll just see if I can Google it, actually. Let me just go back to this page. So this is going to compare the medium format sensor size. Well, there you go. That's the Canon, your normal sensor here. This is your Fuji full frame medium format sensor that you got. This was in the GFX 50. And I'll tell you the size in a minute, and you can see this is the phase 1 up here. So that's why the phase 1 is still the ultimate type of camera sensor that's there. And it just says down here that medium format is generally used to refer to film frames or sensor sizes that are larger than the 35mm full frame. That's what our full frame cameras are, sort of based on that 35mm full frame, which is like your film, but smaller than the larger format 4x5 inch sensor. So the 43.8 by 39.9mm sensor in the Fuji is medium format, but so is the larger 53.7 by 40.4. So the phase 1 is much larger if you look at those sizes there particularly. So it'll be interesting to see. I can't remember what size the Sony one was, but it was bigger than the, it'll be closer to what there is in the phase 1. And you can see that they are square sensors too, which, you know, the Fuji I don't think is, but the medium format one is for the phase. I think that's not, I think it's longer than wide, I think. But anyway, that sort of tells you the size. So that's your 35mm, and then you can see the Fuji and phase 1. So I hope that helped in that regard. Let me just come down here. I think I've just got one more question coming in. Bob said, the focus is killer on the A1 and so fast I've yet to fill a buffer, and the bird eye focus is crazy how it tracks. I know, it's super good, I agree with you. It is amazing. And like I said, can you imagine the A9 III will probably better that. So it's just going to be nuts how good that is actually going to be. And that's it. We've gone for an hour, which is perfect because I sort of put these shows down now for an hour. I think that's a perfect sort of time for them. If you have any questions, leave them down below because I will answer. I'll always look at the questions that's there. And I'll have a couple more videos. I've still got to review this lens. I shot on a wedding with it the other day. It's a Viltrox lens. It's the, what was it? It's the 35 1.8 FE lens. I used it at a wedding the other day and I took some detail shots. So I'm going to actually show you that with the images in Lightroom so you can see how they look and stuff like that. I did capture other images as well, but I'll just show you these. But I didn't want to just use this lens because I hadn't used it for a paid job before. I just used it around the home. But you know, I wanted to make sure I also had other images in case if the images weren't nice. But they're fine. So I'll take you through that and how it worked. I'll probably do that review tomorrow or Monday. I meant to do it yesterday, but I was flat out setting all this up actually. So I'll do that. Oh, let me just see if I can show you this. I'll show you my setup just so I can show you all of this. Where are we? So if I go to screen share, because I think I can just do it easily now. So let me go to here. And I'm going to switch cameras. So let me go to green screen and, oops, I've got to change this actually. How come that's done that? Let me go back to here. And I want to put companion back on here. All right, so let me go to this and I'll show you. I'll go back now. The audio might drop out a little bit, but you can now see my setup that I've got there now. If you look underneath, you'll see that I've got my audio is down here. That's the XR18. There's 18 channels of audio can go into here as well. I've got my RAID system that's under here, which is the Promise Pegasus system. I've got a UPS at the back there. There's a hard drive that you can see under here. And also my Ethernet ports are all into this switcher. I think it's a 20 switch port that I've got underneath there. That hard drive there is a RAID system as well that you're looking at. At the top over here, I've got a monitor up there that sort of shows me the recording and things like that. That's attached down here to my hyperdeck, so I can see what's going on and when I'm recording and things like that. The one above it is the web presenter, so that's how I go live onto the stream. This is my monitor that shows me all the different angles. The ATM Mini is down here, that's the extreme model. And then I've got down here, this was expensive, I've got this SSD drive here, which is a 2 terabyte NRMe drive or whatever it is. I mean, it's very, very fast, like super fast. That's a Thunderbolt 4 drive. I've then got my Mac Mini down there, and then I've also got a hub, which is my, that hub is an OWC hub, and there's 2 hard drives in there. There's a NVMe drive and then also a normal hard drive, and that's what I use to back up my MacBook there as well. And I've got another hub and another OWC hub that's for the Mac Mini that's in the back. Then on the desk here, I've got my MacBook. That's the 14-inch MacBook Pro. That's the fully spec one. So that was a very high-ended one. I've got a Wacom tablet. I've got a Stream Deck here, and I've got a Loop Deck at the back. And I've also got another Loop Deck here that I use for when I'm editing in Final Cut and stuff. This is how I'm switching everything on live chat through the Stream Deck there. Over here, obviously I've got my beer, and I have my mouse. Underneath is the keyboard for my Mac Mini. So that's the keyboard for my Mac Mini, and I've also used the mouse pad there for the Mac Mini as well. And this is the audio system that I use as well. So I've got 2 audio interfaces here. This is the one I use for my sound through the studio, and also when I'm going in just using normal web surfing. The Apollo Twin down here is used when I'm recording guitars and stuff. So that's my music one that I use. And I've also got a Dell hub that's there as well, that's sitting there. And then my speakers, I love these things. These are Fostech speakers. They're amazing. And then I've got another light system up here that I use for my demos. This will then be clear, and I have a camera that sits in here, and it goes down to there, so I can then do my demos through here as well. And the light itself, I've just got diffusers in front of it just to soften the light, but you can sort of see the light that's sitting behind there as well. And then I've just got all soundboards and everything sort of sitting in through there. I've got another mic up there, which is a backup mic. That's a Sennheiser backup mic, and you can see my ZV-E10 there facing me. And the screen at the back is from the web presenter. That's showing me that the stream, you can see what's happening. If you look at the stream, it shows me the audio is going through. I can also see individual frames that shows that the stream is working very, very well. It also tells me the data rate that I've got coming through as well through there. And that's it. And then just down here, I've got the Shure SM7B. And then I've got this arm that I put the phone in actually. That's there. And then if you look around in the studio itself, I have a fridge. There's a Mac down the back. And then I have this screen where I show all of my presentations, like to brides and stuff like that, when they have slideshows and things like that. You can see one of my gimbals is at the back there. That's another one, the Moser. And there is the new Susie sitting there. And then I obviously have the couch that sits there as well. These blinds are all electronic, so I can just open them up and it opens up. And then I've got hue lights all through this, so I can change colours and things like that. So anyway, I just thought I'd show you that, just so it might be a bit of interest to you. Let me go back to the M1. I'll quit that and stop that sharing. Put that back in that arm. So I hope you found that. Our cables are everywhere. I know, I love that. Bob said the focus is killer on the A1. I read that before, didn't I? And the new setup for every show, Tech Nerd. I know, I love it. I do change it. The thing is, I love to try new things. I get bored very, very quickly. And if I don't have different things, it keeps me mentally aware. And you know, I love tech. I just adore tech, and trying new things all the time and everything. I love it. Even if sometimes it fails, I still like the challenge of you know, making it all happen. So yeah, I really do love tech, and you're right. Cable management, I haven't got any because it's all behind the table. No one can really see it anyway, so I don't really worry about it. All the monitors are on monitor arms. I did pay for really expensive ones. They're all monitor arms at the back, so I can just raise the monitors up and down. You know, so anyway, I thought that I'd show you that so you can have a look. Good night. Yeah, I'm going to now, Altric. Thanks for showing us. No worries, Chuck. Glad to show you. Bob said, David Carey, have a great weekend. Love your work and enjoyed having a beer with you. Love to all. I agree on the screen. I hope they upgrade, and I will be looking at the A9 III as a great second backup. Yeah, and it will be great. That's right. I can't wait for that. All right, everyone. Well, that's it for me today. I'll see you all when we do the next live. I am going to try now and start doing the lives midweek too for the Europeans as well, because I did do a live the other night with them and they did like it. So I'm going to probably keep doing that, probably on a Wednesday here. So it'll be Tuesday, I suppose, over there, or I might do it Thursday and then it's Wednesday. Apart from that, everyone, I'll see you all in the next show. Bye for now. Thanks, everyone. Please give a thumbs up. I'll see you all next week in the live.
If you're looking for some crazy, I'll tell you everybody's standing in a line for the water slide. You can come on over, we can take the roller coaster. And you know everybody's looking for a ride in the water slide. Water slide. Surfing on a wave of good feelings. Well, it's just another Friday.